Coming up on Recession Rx, some good news for consumers. We'll be talking about credit card reform. We'll have a nationwide expert on how to stay safe in the workplace and a deal on taking your kids to the amusement park. All the details coming right up.
Recession Rx, your prescription for getting through these tough times.
You know, it's not just homeowners who are facing the mortgage crisis. Renters are paying a price too. One of our viewers was out of town and came home to find a notice telling her she had just 3 weeks to get out of her condo.
They basically said we had two options. The first one, she said that they would give us $1,000 to move out in 3 weeks. We had to take all of our personal belongings out and go. We had to go and sign some paperwork. The second option was to be evicted.
Mary Jean Turner and her husband have been renting this condo for a year. Their homeowners association told them that the landlord wasn't making the mortgage, but the landlord insisted he was getting a loan modification. Now the place is in foreclosure, and the Turners are out money.
The landlord, we thought we were doing a good thing by trying to keep in contact with him over the period of time. However, he said that, or he hasn't gotten back to us on that, so we're losing our $1,200 deposit plus our $300 cleaning deposit, but he won't return our phone calls.
While the bank is giving the couple $1,000 to move, that doesn't cover everything, including the pet deposits for the couple's 2 cats.
A lot of places don't take pets, and then pet deposits on top of that are expensive. Some people will charge you like up to $100 a month or $300 for total move-in. So yeah, and it's hard for them. They don't like to be, it's kind of like a shock for them to be moved.
The Turners are just one of many renters in Las Vegas facing the mortgage crisis. In fact, one of Mary Jean's neighbors also has to move.
Because, everyone's doing it. Everyone's foreclosing on them.
Many renters have similar stories to tell. They're often kept in the dark by their landlord, who takes their money but isn't making the mortgage. Dave Madam runs the website foreclosurerental.com.
If you are going out to look at a property, we suggest that you go ahead and put the address into the system and check it out already, because we try and update at least once a week into the database that they can find out, if there is a problem on the property.
Madam says renters need to check back frequently because things change so quickly.
The landlords are always interviewing the tenants out there. I think we need to switch, and the tenants need to be interviewing the property managers and also the landlords out there of really what's going on.
As for Mary Jean and her husband, they found another condo to rent in the same development, but it's been a rough 3 weeks.
I've heard of this happening to other people. I just didn't think it would happen to us.
And not everyone is being offered money to move, but more banks are offering the Cash for Keys program. That's cash for turning over your rental in good shape. The best advice if you're renting, keep checking on the status. Go to rentalforeclosure.com. Default means the owner is behind on the mortgage, and a notice of trustee sale says that property is in foreclosure. If you don't have internet access, you can call the Clark County Recorder's Office at 455-4336. We also have links to that office on our webpage. Well, it's not just the foreclosure crisis that's causing people to move. This time of year, traditionally, many families are also on the move. The State Office of Business and Industry says you need to be careful.
The concern from the state's perspective is that we don't want folks hiring illegal household goods movers, someone that will take advantage of them when they're already in a difficult situation trying to move out of their home. That's the issue that we're worried about. If they're not certificated through the Nevada Transportation Authority, they may well be a scam operation.
And what would be your concern then for householders?
They don't have insurance. They may not get their goods in a timely fashion. They may be damaged when they receive them. Or worst of all, the goods may be held hostage, where one fee is negotiated and they're asked to pay additional fees at the time of delivery in order to get their items.
And for more information on hiring a licensed mover, you can go to our website or call the State Transportation Authority at 486-3303. We've been following up with the state on the number of complaints against title insurance companies. We got 21 pages here. So far, there's been 86 complaints in the past 8 years. We were checking the complaints on behalf of one of our viewers, Chris Adams. You might remember him. His development went out of business, leaving his complex unfinished and leaving Chris unable to sell his house because of the mechanic liens. Chris filed a complaint with the state over his title insurance, but that complaint is confidential. We asked the state for more information, so we were given the number of complaints and who they were filed with, but no information as to how everything was resolved. And we will keep checking on this issue. There's some good news for consumers. Our credit card laws are about to change. Joining me to explain it is Michelle Johnson from Consumer Credit Counseling Service. What's the changes?
There's going to be many changes that are going to affect consumers who use credit, both advantageous and some I think that might be a bit detrimental to some.
Let's start off with the good news, though. What's the best news out of this?
Well, the good news is the universal default, where in the past if you didn't pay your Visa, your MasterCard might raise your interest rate, will stop. They'll no longer be able to do that. It will be based on an individual account. Consumer will have to miss 2 payments, be 60 days delinquent before they can increase the interest rate. And the other part of that is that the creditors will be required to reevaluate on a regular basis. So if it was a one-time event that caused you to be behind and you make 6 months worth of payments on time, they then reevaluate your creditworthiness and are to reduce that interest rate back down to where it was.
Oh, okay. So if, if like a lot of people, you're out of work or kind of being dialed back at work, if you can't make a couple payments, then they can work with you instead of just arbitrarily running it up to like 29%?
Well, they can still increase it, but it isn't going to be a permanent thing, which it normally turns out to be now.
Yeah. And how much notice do they have to give you now if they're under the new law if they're going to raise your rates?
Any time that they raise your rate for any purpose, they have to give you 45 days notice. It has to be in simple language, in big font, not the little tiny stuff that we now see, so that it's very obvious to a consumer that there's going to be a change.
Yeah, because I've had several friends of mine say that they've just gotten a notice from the credit card company on their bill that they just look and all of a sudden their limit is now their actual what they owe.
Right. They've also been doing a lot of that in reducing the limits, reevaluating creditworthiness, tightening their credit criteria, which is really affecting a lot of folks in that way, which has even more effect that some don't realize in that it affects your credit score as well when they do the reduction of the credit limit like that.
Okay, so we have some good changes. What do you think is, and there's also going to be bigger disclosure, right?
Right, and the disclosures are going to be they're not going to be as quickly done because there'll be a lot of systems changes that are needed. But it will inform a consumer that if they make the minimum payment, it will show them how much they'll end up paying back, the total interest that they'll pay back, the true cost of that credit card account. And that's really valuable because I don't believe most people understand how much long-term and how long it takes them to liquidate a balance. So the disclosures are going to be really valuable, I think, in helping consumers plan their financial future, as long as they pay attention to them.
Right, as long as you look at it, because I think like that, a lot of people think, well, it's $1,000 here or $1,000 here, but they don't know how long it takes to pay that off and how much they're paying in interest.
Right. All too often, a consumer merely looks at the fact of whether they can make the payment. Mm-hmm. And if they can afford the payment, then they think they're okay without looking at how much of that payment actually goes to principal and how much is really interest.
So do you think in terms of, we've been waiting for this. It was supposed to happen a year ago. Now the politicians have moved it up. I mean, do you see this affecting a wide group of people?
I think it will affect everyone. It will affect those that have had difficulty in paying their bills or those that may have challenges in the future. The disclosures, of course, will be advantageous to everybody. And I believe it's going to affect those consumers who pay their bills on time because I think we'll see the cost of credit increasing. I think we'll see rewards programs go away, those miles that you get.
Right.
I think they'll probably start ending those programs. I think we may see annual fees come back, especially for those consumers that use those accounts as 30-day charges. I mean, the creditor's still making money. They make money off of every charge, but they're not making the interest.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, we're out of time. I have to stop you there, but some good news, and especially with some of the disclaimers. And for more information, you can contact Consumer Credit Counseling Service at 364-0344 or go to their website for more information.